Mr. Narcisse?
Yeah, I agree 100% with what Doc said. The reality is, sometimes the focus is more on state assessments than it is on mastery and competency, how you can perform on the test. And, as you know, that one test is not always a determinant of everything, but schools are evaluated in that space on whether you're good, not good. And so the other thing, too, I wanted to bring up, because, this was common in the last segment, was, the schools are dependent on to do a lot of things. And the reality is they can't do everything. It has to be a much more whole child community approach, even with reading, right? So when you look at kids who really perform well with literacy and those things, they're getting reading all over the place. Whether they go home, they walk in their community, they go to church, or wherever they are, they're getting that space. There's a dynamic right now between disengagement of kids, not only in schools, but also in the type of communities that they're coming from. And so there's a whole lot of dynamics that play on why they're not unable to do certain things. And technology has actually changed those dynamics, right? So you heard the example that Doc talked about with, now you can just ask Siri a question. Well, now you can just ask ChatGPT or any of those things. I mean, kids are way more versed into those spaces than they are in everything. That's why now we have to teach teachers a totally different way on how to actually engage children in their learning. And kids, they're going to learn differently. If you remember when the TI-83 came out, which was a calculator, people said, well, the kids are not going to learn math because it went from a Casio to TI-83 in college. Well, they're not going to do the mathematics. Well, it's the same type of dynamic that's going on today where, you have to change that. I mean, when I was a teacher, I saw the same dynamics back then in the early 2000s. You see the same thing being a school leader in superintendents or who are running districts, working with state superintendents, are trying to manage those dynamics with all the pressures of accountability and assessments.
So are we now saying that